Why do you overthink every single message? Is the question that we're going to be asking today in today's episode of Is it really love or just anxious attachment? I have in my trusty notebook, because I am a busy gal and it would fall out of my head if I didn't have a notebook. I have 5 things that I need to discuss today, and we're going to run through why you overthink every single message. And I know that it's a super debilitating thing to go through and you feel like you just can't not do it because it's ingrained in your psyche at this point. You have trained your brain to, to feel this way. And if you didn't see my first video, go and watch my first video. I discuss a little bit about just how anxious attachment feels if you need to understand it a little bit more. But we're going to focus on this today. So number 1, something that is going to keep cropping up in these videos is going to be the word reassurance, or the words reassurance and abandonment. These are key words when we're talking about anxious attachment and attachment styles, because you ultimately have this fear, and this is why you, for example, obsess over every single message they send. You have this need for reassurance and abandonment issues. You need to be reassured that this person is okay. Like, even if they're not giving you a hint in the message that they are, like, there's something is off, you are going to self-sabotage in your brain. And your brain, again, because you're telling yourself that you're not really worthy, you're not really good, you're not confident, you're not all these things. Again, go and watch my first video where I discuss that a bit more. And your brain is going to go, okay, this is fine. We know that we have to think this way now, and we have to give you things. I believe there is a study on it, actually. There is a study where it says basically your brain takes these signals from you. So if you think, I'm not worth it, I'm not confident, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, I'm really bad at this, I'm terrible at this, I will never do. Your brain takes those signals and it will actively try and prove you right. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you're telling yourself, I'm terrible at this, I'm not good at this, I'm a bad person, I have no confidence, I have no personality, my whole being needs to be tied up in this person that I'm texting right now, your brain is going to fill in those gaps, connect everything together, and it's going to give you this really pretty... I work in visuals, so the visual I'm getting is it's going to give you, your brain is going to give you a really pretty mood board full of reasons why you're not worth it. And you're going to take that from your brain and you're going to put this onto this person you're texting, and you're going to say, well, normally you put a smiley face at the end there normally, and you haven't done that today. I'm just wondering, why do you hate me? That kind of thing. That's one of the reasons. Abandonment issues and reassurance are things that you need. So there's 2 things, I guess. 1 and 2, reassurance and abandonment. The abandonment part comes into play because you think, if they are not okay with me, if I'm reading into this correctly, which you're probably not, by the way, if I'm reading into this correctly, then eventually they're just going to leave me. But really what's going to happen is you're going to push them away because of the way that you're acting with your attachment issues. And it's not your fault, but we're going to work through them. So the 1, 2, number 3 is, this is the key. This is why you keep coming back. This is why you keep repeating the cycle of, I obsess over the message and then I freak out in my head and then I get super, like I said, it's debilitating. I used to be very, very anxiously attached. When I was a teenager, I was awful. And I feel like most teenagers kind of get like this at some point, but for some people it sticks. And for a while there, it stuck with me. And I really used to get like this. Like with my boyfriend at the time, I would be very like, oh my god, reading into everything. Why is he not messaging me back? Does he just, has he just lost interest in me? And once I had started that cycle of right, now I'm going to freak out. Now maybe I'm going to act cold in a certain way. Maybe I'm going to reply differently to the messages that he's sending me and make him ask me what's wrong, because I'm hurt by the fact that he is clearly messaging me in a different way than he normally does. He's obviously, there's something wrong and he's not telling me, and I'm mad. So he needs to ask me what's wrong so that I can basically have a go, right? And again, you're not a bad person, you are just suffering from something emotionally. And you will then use something to kind of bring up the subject, but not really, because you don't actually want to broach the subject, because in your head you know that he's or she, whoever you're messaging, is doing this thing, right? You know. You don't know. It's your anxious attachment, but you think you know. Then what happens is you get the validation you need afterwards, right? If that is what's happening in this case, if that person is in fact giving you the validation after the fact, after you've kicked up a fuss about it, or you've messaged them back in a different way yourself, they're going to give you that validation and be like, no, that wasn't the case. You know, you read into it a little bit wrong. We're fine. Everything's fine. And they really do, like, not grovel, but they really overcompensate because you have made an issue out of it. You then go, okay, my nervous system is regulated because this person has now given me that reassurance, the reassurance that I needed. I really needed to hear that. Wow, like I'm okay now. I don't feel that way anymore. And you go about your day. That's very anxious attachment coded. That whole situation, okay, is something that I definitely have been through. When that happens, that little situation, what happens in your brain is you get a massive dopamine hit. You get a huge dopamine hit from that. You're like, right, this happened and I didn't like it, even though you were reading into it completely wrong because of your anxious attachment. I kicked up a little fuss about it because I didn't want to broach it directly, but I made the other person realize that I was angry and sad and all of these things. And then they gave me the validation because they came back to me and they told me that that wasn't the case. It wasn't the case. I didn't need to worry. That wasn't what was happening. It was my mistake. And you've been given the validation, which means your dopamine levels have been spiked and you're essentially conditioning your brain to crave that feeling again and again and again and again. So every single time you see something that your brain is now going to go, that's not right, that's not right, why have they messaged you that? That's not good. Your brain is working against you. You are conditioning your brain. You are literally conditioning your brain to work against you with this anxious attachment stuff. Okay, you are conditioning it to work against you. And again, I'm speaking as someone who has suffered with anxious attachment styles in the past, and coming through to the other side of it, realizing how freeing it can be to finally just admit to yourself that you're not doing okay and you maybe need to work through some stuff. It's the best feeling in the world. I mean, it really is. Because when you realize, oh my goodness, I am literally conditioning my brain to work against me. Like the whole fibre of my being is working against me here and making me worse and making my quality of life awful. Because a lot of the time, anxiously attached people, they're just sad. Like they're just, not all the time, but just a lot of the time you can be sad for really silly reasons. And it is all because you are doing things that are harming your mindset. It's harming your brain. You are, again, conditioning your brain to enjoy this dopamine hit that you get from this really negative thing, this really negative course of action that you're taking in trying to make the other person understand that you're not happy but not communicating properly, and doing it in such a roundabout way that they then have to validate you. Dopamine spikes, you crave that feeling, you want that feeling again, and so the next time that you see an opportunity to cause a problem because you feel it's very like oh no, woe is me, I feel, and I'm not saying that in a harsh way because again I've been through it. That is how I remember it being. It was a very like woe is me, you know, I feel this way, even though somewhere in the back of your mind you kind of know that it's not a valid feeling, but it doesn't matter because you feel it so intensely and so strongly that you cannot let it go. I get it. Again, I am not blaming. It's not a thing to blame someone about. It's about awareness. And if people don't get told the harsh truth, then they'll forever be lost in this cycle. And one of the reasons that I really, really wanted to start doing videos about this stuff and like creating a YouTube channel and doing all this stuff, putting out like snippets of content about it, is because at the time when I was a teenager, this was a long time ago, like I'm 30 years old now, but at the time, I wish that I'd had somebody online or somebody in my life, anything in my life, real life, online, whatever the case may be. I wish I had somebody there to tell me this is what's happening and I've been through this and I want you to know that it's okay and it can get better and we can work through it. And get yourself a cup of tea. I literally have like a whole coffee here because it's needed, because today was a day. But I would have loved that, someone to sit with, even if it was through a screen. I love that anyway now. Like I'll put a YouTube video on and I'll sit down with my drink and like some snacks and I'll watch a YouTuber that I love, and it's just cozy and it feels relatable and it's nice. So that's kind of what I want to provide to people who need to hear this kind of stuff, as somebody who's been through it and who's not kind of embarrassed or worried about saying these kinds of things to a bunch of people. It happens. We all go through things, and that was one of the things that happened to me and one of the things that I went through and then had to overcome. And it's okay. It's okay to do that, because when you work through it, you're actively trying to do something about it, which is the main thing. It's not about blame. It's not about you're a bad person. It's not about this, that, and the other. Are you actively trying to work through it? Are you listening to advice? Are you watching videos? Are you reading articles? I don't know what you're doing, but if you're doing something like that, then you are helping yourself. And that's why I wanted to do this, because I wish I'd had that at the time, because maybe I could have solved my problems, issues, however you want to call them, a bit sooner. Alas, I didn't have that kind of support. So hopefully it can support you in whatever it is you're going through with your attachment issues. But that's basically the cycle of just getting way off track. That's basically the cycle of why you're obsessing over every message. That is the psychology, and you can read up on this. Maybe I'll try and find a link or something to put in the description. But it is basically where you condition your brain to work against you, and you get the dopamine spike and you just repeat it every time. So once you start to understand, and again, I'm not a psychologist or a therapist, but I've read up on stuff, and you can too. Please do not take my word for it. Read up on some of these things, search for articles, do all that good stuff. Don't just trust people online, I guess, is my point. But the advice that I'm giving you is stuff that I have clearly researched. The psychology behind it is fascinating. Once you understand the psychology behind it, it's much easier to understand what you're going through and how to help yourself. So rather than just saying, okay, this is something that you're going through, just get over it. No, we're gonna get through it. We're not gonna step over it like it's this giant hill, it's an inconvenience, and just kind of bypass it and go on with our lives and pretend it isn't a thing, because it is a thing. You're feeling a certain way. We're gonna go through it together, and yeah, I hope this helped. If you have any comments, suggestions, questions, anything at all, you want to start a conversation, that can help if you're going through something like that. And obviously, if it's something deeper than that, this is not a substitution for actual real therapy from a real therapist who, you know, can help a lot. If you're going through something that is severely troubling you, I definitely recommend going to a therapist. But I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you learned something from this video. It's very interesting about the psychology of it. Again, please like it, and I don't know if that just cut out because my battery's dying, but please like if you enjoy this formatting, I suppose, of videos, and subscribe if you want to see more. I will see you in the next episode, which will be episode 3. Ciao.